Stay tuned for the Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Our guests waiting to be profiled are actor Pasha Lynchnikoff and author Flechelle Morin. Actor-director Pasha Lynchnikoff was born and raised in Russia. He trained at the Moscow Academy of Dramatic Arts, and Pasha's appeared on TV in Nash Bridges, New York, NYPD Blues, The Shield. You'll recognize him as Blazanov in Deadwood. And on the big screen, he's been in Miami Vice, Perfect Sleep, and Welcome to America. Do you always play Russians?
Well, yes, of course. Well, not always, but I certainly bring a European flavor.
It sounds Russian.
Yeah, yes.
When you go to audition for roles, are there other people with the same kind of European flavor?
I would say about another thousands people with European flavor.
Really?
From all over the world, absolutely.
Oh, so you're not just one of the chosen ones who go.
I'm not alone.
Oh, so that's interesting. Were you working in Moscow as an actor?
Well, yes, of course. And first of all, I got accepted. I was lucky enough to get accepted into the Academy of Dramatic Art. And then I did some theater, and I did some films, and then I decided to move to the United States.
Well, when you got accepted to the Academy,
right,
which is very specialized kind of thing, did you have to train in high school, or is it high school age?
Well, yes, it is a high school age, but we didn't have a special training into the high school. We had to prepare ourselves in order to get accepted, which is like at least 4 or 5 auditions.
Oh.
And it comes to the point when it's 300 people per one space, for one spots, and maybe 20 spots available.
So were you doing mostly stage in Russia?
Well, I did a lot of stage. I mean, some stage. I was,
and TV?
And TV and the films, yes.
Well, because you did TV there, and you do so much TV here, is there any comparison?
Well, no comparison. American TV is a lot better than Russian TV. I hate to say it, but it is what it is.
Well, I don't know which one's older. I think maybe we're older. Maybe we know more about it.
Right.
What about working in films?
You mean
here and there?
It's. I mean, working in films. That's wonderful.
Because they have a great film company.
Absolutely.
Production there, right?
Yes.
Well, that's different from TV to film. That's kind of interesting.
I don't think that's the big difference. I think the biggest difference from theater to film and TV.
From theater to film, it works.
Yes.
But then it doesn't work.
Yes.
One more step.
No.
I see. Well, when do you have time? Do you still read the classics? Because I'm sure at the Moscow Academy,
It's my love.
Is it?
It's my love, yes.
And so you were trained on it?
Yes. And that's why we're trying to put a production at the Odyssey Theater of a play called The Shelter.
The Shelter.
The Shelter, which is based on Maxim Gorky's play Low Depth. What we did, we took the main storyline and we adapted. And actually, because the beauty about the Low Depth, that's how we saw it. It has no place, no time. It can happen with anyone, because it's about human being.
I see.
It could happen 100 years ago, and it can happen 100 years later.
But you adapted this to
And co-adapted,
English.
yes.
What does that mean?
It means that we brought a lot of new characters
Oh, you
to
did.
the show, absolutely, and we put a lot of new storylines. And of course, we had to change a lot of dialogue. Actually, we changed everything.
So you adapted it with Lee Hubbard.
With Lee
So
Hubbard.
is that because his English would be different than the way your English is?
Well, that's part of it, certainly. Plus, Lee is an extremely gifted writer.
Oh,
His
I see.
background, actually, he used to be one of the top prosecutors in Los Angeles. Oh yes. And then, when he retired, he was always thinking of writing and directing and expose himself to different things, and we had a wonderful time on that.
So when you co-adapt or you adapt something like that, do you read it in Russian first? Or is it in English and then you redo it?
No, first of all, the director and I, we had to rewrite Low Depth into the modern time.
Oh, I see. But you knew it from Russian?
Oh yes.
In the Russian
oh,
writing,
yes.
yeah.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Oh yes. And then we have to again rewrite with Lee
That's-
from modern Russian to modern American.
I see.
Yes.
So and then you have all these different characters in mind along with it.
Absolutely.
You have Valerie Belyankovich.
Belikovich, yes.
Who's actually right from Russia.
He is.
Visiting
he
in
is
Los
right
Angeles?
from Russia, and he's a wonderful director. He has his own repertoire for 30 years. And he directed at least 15 plays in Moscow Art Theater, and all over the world. And his style absolutely unique. It's dynamic. In this play we have 150 different cues.
How many characters?
It's 22 different
Oh,
characters.
so he's moving a lot of people on stage.
A lot, and it's all about movement. It's not one layer pie. I'd say it's 12 layers pie at least. It's
From the lower depths, right?
From the lower depth.
But you act in it as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I
So-
wouldn't miss it for the world. No, never.
Well, does he direct in English?
Well, here's the thing. He speaks some. He certainly understands more than he speaks. But theater language is a universal language, so actors understand them.
That's what everyone says. Is it true? Does he point and push?
He points and push, and he throws things, and
does he speak Russian at the time?
he speaks Russian.
And
but
then you kind of understand
then
him.
you do certainly understand everything, because again, it's a universal language.
What is the theme? What's the actual theme of the play? Which is at the Odyssey, right?
Absolutely,
It's
it's at the
Theater.
Odyssey Theater, and yes, and we certainly should give a phone number
Oh,
at
I
this
don't
point.
think we can.
We can?
No.
Okay.
But
then
we
we're
know
not
where the
gonna
Odyssey
okay,
Theater
then
is.
We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that.
In West LA.
So
But tell us what the thing.
It is about human being. It is about who we are, what we are. It is about those little twists and turning points, how you can lose everything and how you can gain everything at the same time. And Low Depth, it's not where you live, it's what is inside of us. That's what our play is about.
Is it all male? Is it a male cast?
No,
Oh,
not at
no.
all. It's males and females, and we have every ethnicity we could possibly
Oh, I
have.
didn't realize. Oh, so,
Yeah,
I
because it's such a universal thing. That's what we'd like to think about. And it could happen 100 years ago, it can happen now, it can happen 100 years later.
Well, tell me, is it the same kind of thing that you do on Deadwood? Is there any connection?
Well, of course there is a connection, because the way David Milch writes the Deadwood, and I think it's, well, I mean, I'm not a writer, so I can talk about it. I think it's a masterpiece, and the beauty about Deadwood is David brings a human side he talks about human being, what a human being is about.
That's why when you were talking about the lower depths and how you go down, that's what you see in Deadwood, the
Absolutely.
inside, right?
Absolutely.
But how do you get that? It's all from writing and acting. But I mean, how do you get your actors to do that?
Well, he develops story. He develops, of course, the main line. But at the same time, what's beautiful about it, he let actors. He sees actors. He knows actors, and he kind of let the story lead him. If it makes any sense.
Yeah, the story's just taking over.
Right.
And you actors are doing it. You're taking over too. But it has to be his words, right, that are motivating you and pushing you.
Absolutely. It's all the way. It's all the way he's writing, and I mean, I can talk about myself. I feel extremely fortunate being on it.
What about, is it really ensemble
It is
casting?
an ensemble. It is an ensemble casting, and beautiful actors.
So does that actually relate to the shelter? Would you call that ensemble acting as well?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So both. So that's
both,
a really...
Because, I mean, I'm trying to learn a lot from him, and that's why I decided to bring this play alive, because it's also a huge ensemble piece, and one person can bring something, another person can bring something to the table, and it's just wonderful,
So when we talk about ensemble, we don't talk about one star or one actor taking over.
Not at all. It's like a big table when everyone brings something to it.
That's
and
great.
Eventually it comes to life when you see it full.
Well, you did it for us today. Thank you so much. Pasha. Pasha, which I learned today is a nickname for Pavel.
Pavel, yes.
I love it.
Yes,
Thanks, Pasha.
Thank you. No, thank you very much. My pleasure. Thanks.
Don't go away. We'll be right back with Flechelle Morin. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Author Flechelle Morin was born and raised in Montreal, Canada. She graduated with a degree in political science from Marie Victorine, and she worked in finance, then as a public relations officer in Quebec. And as a public relations officer, what did you do?
Well, at the time, actually, the Quebec government had hired I hired a private company as consultant, and I was working for this private company. And basically, we were reading scripts and trying to send the American filmmaker to shoot their movies in Quebec.
Oh, so that was a time when Canada was trying to get Americans to come up because it was such an easy place to film.
Absolutely, that was in the mid-'80s.
But we're trying to keep everyone here in America to film, in California.
But at the time it was pretty new, and so we had to go out there and meet with producers and directors and entice them to shoot their movies in Quebec instead of going maybe to Germany or even to France, because in Quebec, there's old Montreal and old Quebec City that can be really like a European city. So that really it.
So the locations were beautiful, and they didn't have to go too far.
Yes.
So, and then you had this idea about frozen healthy food. Was it right after that, or did the computer stuff come in first?
Well, and actually in 1990, I went through a divorce, and I decided I wanted to change my life, and I decided I didn't want to work in the entertainment business anymore. And I had an idea for a healthy frozen food line.
Okay.
1990, I thought, healthy food, and I looked into that, but I was also interested in the computer business, and I thought, I looked at the two of them. Actually, I worked with two consultants, a consultant in the food business and a consultant in the computer industry. And I realized that 10 years later, butter would be butter, but the computer industry would have totally surpassed me. And I selected to work in the computer business.
So you were smart to choose the right thing. You were giving seminars in software. I mean, you went so far that you became really an authority.
Yes, and I started really, out of nothing. I knew nothing or very little about the computer industry. And I started as a, computer trainee. I was building computers and fixing
You were
printers.
building. That's what you said.
I really started from at the bottom. I just went around and say I want to work in the computer industry. I had not really gone to school for that. And then I said, I want for you to train me, and then I'll work for you, and that's how it started. And then I moved to teach software programs.
But nobody really thinks about starting, when you start in the computer business, you don't think about putting them together, the actual physical part of it.
That's true. But at the time it was like, I thought, well, I'll start there, and then I started to teach classes, and I wrote training manuals like
you did.
how on DOS and WordPerfect 5.1 and those old.
So you knew how to so you were writing.
I was writing my own training material until then I moved on, and then I started to train with the larger companies. I started to buy training materials from other other bigger companies.
Because the writing aspect comes in when we have the book. I was going to say, how did we get to the book? Kissing or no kissing, whom will you save your kisses for? So it was a natural progression, I guess. You had a little bit of show business in the background, and you had writing experience. But what happened to the computer business then?
Well, I worked in the computer business for a little bit over 10 years, and I knew it was time for me to move on. The same way that I moved on from my career in the entertainment business to my career in the computer business, I thought, I just want to do something new. And, why did I decide to write the book? Well, first of all, my first thing was I want to make dating fun for women. I want for women to be able to go out there and have a good time.
So is this what the book says?
It is actually such a fun way to date that, people will tell me, even my fiancé told me, he said, you make dating sound so much fun. Why do you want to get married?
Well, what niche does it fill? Does it have a certain readership?
Yes, it does. There's over 25 million women, above the age of between 35 and 45 years old in the United States today trying to get married, and a lot of them want to have babies. And so I'm helping women, first of all, to not be afraid to go out dating, because dating can be fun, and what to do in order not to get, to fall in love with the first man that asks you out or things like that. I talk a lot in my book about the oxytocin. Oxytocin is a scientifically proven neuropeptide that is developed in the pituitary gland of the woman. And it goes through the bloodstream when we are being kissed and touched.
It really is?
It absolutely is. And then I called it the love drug because it makes us feel in love with that man that is kissing us at that time.
So is kissing in your book a metaphor for a relationship? Not really, because you're talking about an actual something happening. Absolutely. And I was thinking that kissing was the metaphor for the relationship. Well, because you use that to hold back, to go in.
Exactly. Well, what I suggest women to do, what the whole book is all about, is I'm thinking that if women can learn on how to date men without falling in love with them,
oh, that's
then
interesting.
Perhaps they can start learning about the men themselves instead of entering, because when and I have been there. I'm a woman. I just I went out and kissed a guy, and then suddenly you're kind of waiting by the phone for him to call. Someone else asks you to go out, and you really want the other one. When in reality, the other one hasn't made any promises, hasn't given you any commitment.
So here you are, chapter 1. What is the no kissing plan? And why it works, because that's what you're talking about.
Absolutely. I suggest for women who are interested in being in a long-term committed relationship, doesn't need to be, with the signed paper of marriage, but women who really want to be in a long-term, they want to get out of the 3 months, 6 months, 9 months relationship that they've been since their early 20s. Now we're talking about women that have been bonded and attached to men and at work, and so what I'm suggesting women to do is to go out with men and play with them and have a little bit more fun with them. So, you know,
Chapter 7, multiple dating, why and how.
multiple dating is because if even like for me, for example, and for many women, when we date one man, we fall in love with him, and he hasn't given up the commitment. We don't really know much about
That's
him.
what you said.
And so I suggest for women, if they are on the, for example, the first, second, or third date, and the man asks, may I kiss you? If the woman is very serious and she wants to be married, she should say, oh, thank you so much for asking. I find you very attractive. However, you know, I have decided I will not kiss anyone casually. Well, already, first of all, some men don't recover right away from that. So they go home and they'll call the woman maybe a week later because they want to know, what is that? Women don't refuse good-looking men, usually, their kisses. And then, you know, I help women to explain to the man, you know, you're so charming, and I know that I will bond to you if I start kissing you. And I'm looking to be married. I want to be in a committed relationship.
But doesn't that scare the guy away?
Oh, all the men that are there just for a good time,
Yeah,
they're gone.
That scares him away too.
Absolutely. We get the guys who are not interested in marriage, they're gone. So then it leaves the place for the marriage-minded man
Oh, I see.
to come in. Instead, so she's not losing her time. She's just wasting her time on men. Or there's so many married men also that are dating out
Oh,
there on
right.
the internet that women will get bonded to them.
You talk about the internet and dating services and dating of matchmakers.
Yes.
So here's just what you were talking about. How friendly should I be without having sex until engaged? That's the same thing as kissing. I mean,
Yes.
it's like,
You can be friendly, you can have fun. It's just, you know, there's just too many women who just meet a guy on the third day, they go to bed with him, and then he never calls. It really erodes a woman's spirit to do that. It really gives power to a woman to know that the man, you know, is calling her back and taking her again, even if she hasn't slept with him.
I think that is talking about a toxic man. And that's what you talk about in your foreword by Dr. Pat Allen,
Yes.
is the toxic man, how to get rid of him.
Well, you know, we attract any type of man. But it's, you know, as Dr. Pat Allen says, actually it's the ones we keep that counts. And what I believe is when a woman, if she wants to be married, only really a marriage-minded man it will be like music to his ears to know that she's not kissing everybody. Because when a woman will say, I am serious, and you know what, I'm multiple dating, I don't want to kiss anyone, you know, everyone around town. It makes a woman, I believe that men are very territorial, and they can have fun with many women, but when they want to marry the one, they don't want another man around her.
But you're also in the book, you talk about women using their feminine power. Do you think that's fair? People don't think that's fair for a woman to use her feminine power on
Is
men.
it too powerful?
Maybe. I don't know. What are we talking about? You give seminars on that.
Yes, absolutely. I think that
Is it too powerful? Maybe.
you know, maybe it's just, you know, I believe that a woman, especially, you know, women who are, like I come from a corporate world. Very businesswoman. It's fun to play businesswoman during the day where we are in charge and we're all, you know, we all men at work and it's good. But it's nice for a woman also to be courted, cherished, and loved at night. So I'm helping women you can really go out there and be a go-getter, but he can also have a man who is a go-getter instead of a man who is after a woman who's a go-getter.
Right.
Because, you know, there's a very big difference. We can be go-getter during the day, but it doesn't mean that we want to have a man who is after a go-getter. We might want to be also with a powerful man that his pleasure is to cherish and love his wife.
I think that's a big problem, though. A woman is a go-getter during the day.
Yes.
Sometimes doesn't know how to turn it off.
And then
at
they
night.
attract men that are after go-getter. And usually these type of men will be more of the feminine energy men.
And then they don't like that, though.
There's nothing wrong with these
No.
men. And because, you know, you have the feminine energy, the masculine energy, either being the woman or the man, it doesn't matter. However, if the woman is masculine during the day and she attracts these feminine men, 6 months later, she's tired of having to tell him, well,
Right.
let's go to this restaurant or wear that tie and, you know, those socks don't fit. You know, she's tired of it. She wants to have a real man. But real men, the real masculine men, the go-getter, they just don't go after go-getters.
That's what I mean.
They go about complementary women, and they like feminine women that
There
will
you
make
are.
their life fun,
Right.
that will, laugh, that will enjoy going out with them at night and socialize with their family and their friends. So they just don't want to come home and compete with their wives.
So many of the things that you've said in the book seem like common sense to me, and yet I don't think that this dating age group that you're talking about has the common sense that you've put in the book. So it's like a teaching thing, more or less.
Well, it is. I first wrote the book actually so that I could, go out there and teach women. I believe that women might not really understand it from the start, but one thing they know is that when I tell women that, you remember when you kissed that guy you didn't really like that much, and then suddenly you say, oh, I'll just have a good time with him. And then suddenly you're sitting by the phone and crying because he's not calling you.
Right.
Every woman I know, including me, has gone through that. And when we date and we don't get that type of bonding with men, it's nice. It's very powerful, and not powerful in a way to use that against men. Actually, in my book, I do not suggest for women to play games.
I know you say that, and you also have a lot of letters from women. Where did you gather those kind of letters and things
I
from?
gave dating advice over on the internet over the years, and chat boards and things like that. And those are letters that I've used. I've changed the name, I've changed the situation, I've changed some letters. So there might be a letter from a woman, but it's really from every woman.
See.
So I took situations and I just made it. I thought it would be fun for women. Women recognize themselves in other women.
Can older women who are widows read this and think about it?
I think we're women from the day we're born to the day we die.
So we have to use our common sense, and we have to use our femininity.
Yes.
But we have to be strong during the day. We just have to know how to have two sides.
How to have two sides, and also how to manage intelligibly your dating world. We will not go and accept a job without knowing how much we're going to be paid or what's the job responsibility.
True.
I will not go and work for a company and I don't know what my job responsibilities are, or I don't know how much it's going to pay. And women, we go out there and we date men, we don't know them, we don't know if they're going to give us a commitment, and at the same time we give our all.
Well,
and it doesn't work.
It's a good lesson.
Yes.
You brought us some interesting things today. Thanks, Flechelle.
Thank you so much.
And thanks for watching the Joan Quinn Profiles. Keep writing to 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor, Los Angeles 90017.